Hey guys, so here to cover a pretty important topic within youth sports equipment today, which is which type of cleat is designed for which sport and what the differences are between them. So as you can see here, we have three different cleats listed, one for soccer, one for football, and one for baseball. You can see by the circles here that the biggest differences between the cleats are going to be with the spikes on the bottom themselves. So you can see that there are going to be pretty noticeable differences between the three. We'll get into each by individual sport, starting with baseball. So as you can see here, all four of these cleats are baseball cleats. They are going to be slightly different, made of different materials. We'll get into what the differences are between those in a different video. But what we're going to do right now is just look at the similarities between the four. So what you can see here, each cleat will have spikes on the side running parallel to the cleat itself, up and down. And the reason for that is that baseball is going to be a sport that has a ton of lateral side-to-side movement, and this will assist with that motion and make sure that you stay grounded when doing so. So as you can see, the lateral motion that I'm speaking of happens mainly in the field, where for this example, when fielding a ground ball, you'll shuffle side to side to get in front of it. You'll also do the same thing in the outfield when fielding a fly ball. When running bases, there are a ton of different plays that are made with side-to-side motion in baseball. Not to say that they don't run forward, but it's a lot more frequent that motion will be side-to-side. Also, a very common motion in baseball is going to be to pivot. So you can see on the cleat here all the way on the right, and with the other ones as well, but much more so with this one, that most baseball cleats will be designed to have spikes that have sort of a circular motion to them, and this is also going to be to assist with this motion and provide the least resistance possible while keeping you grounded while doing so. Now when I speak of that pivot motion, a few examples of when that happens: when swinging a bat, like you can see here, your back foot is going to spin. When throwing a ball, you're going to do the same, and when pitching. Now getting into our next sport of football, you can see that the spikes are going to be a lot less wide and that they're going to be usually a triangle that's pointing forward. Reason for that is that football is a sport of a lot more forward motion than baseball will be, and you'll also see a lot of similarities to this in lacrosse as well. Again, all three of these spikes are football. We'll get into what the differences are between them in a separate video. But for now, we're just going to look at the similarities here. So again, looking at that forward motion, that's going to be really what these spikes are designed for. Also, like I said with lacrosse, the reason that I bring that up is because a lacrosse spike and a football spike are almost identical. If you ever get the chance when shopping, take a look between the two. There really are no differences for the most part. Moving on to our final sport here of soccer. You can see that the spikes are going to be a lot smaller than any other sport. Reason for that is going to be that soccer is a sport that has a lot of change of direction and moving in different directions, so you want to have the least resistance possible while still being grounded for that sport. You'll also have a shorter cleat. The reason for that is that you often step on the ball in soccer and you want to not lose that sensation of feeling the ball and having that control. You also will not have a spike on the toe at the very tip, and the reason for that is going to be, just like we said, for controlling the ball when you go to stop it. Also, especially with the higher end soccer cleats, you'll get more grip on the upper, which is around where the laces are on the top of the cleat. So if that's something that you're getting a high-end soccer cleat for a sport other than soccer, you're really wasting your money there, because a good portion of that cost is actually going towards that grip for ball control. You're also losing that front toe cleat, which for soccer is obviously something that you don't want, but for other sports you're losing some traction that you really do want. So to kind of sum this up here, one thing that I would absolutely recommend if you are looking at the options of either getting a cheap cleat for each individual sport or looking at one cleat that's going to be more high-end, I would definitely recommend going with a cheaper cleat for each sport, because as you get to the higher end cleats, they're going to be more specified to that sport. So you're actually going to be going in the opposite direction of what you want there. If you absolutely have to mix cleats, which I wouldn't recommend, but I understand that there are financial constraints for a lot of people, I would not recommend mixing baseball cleats with any other sport, mainly because the rules don't allow you to in most sports, and also because baseball is just so different motion-wise that it really is not ideal for any other sport. Soccer is going to be the most versatile of the cleats. You're not going to get as much traction as you would with any other cleats, but it is within the rules for most sports. So if you absolutely have to mix a cleat, soccer is going to be your most versatile for just about anything. If you're looking for something for football and lacrosse, those two cleats are almost identical, so you can use either sport for both, and you'll have no issues with that whatsoever. For girls' soccer cleats, you can use those for just about any girls' sport, with the exception of softball, because again, just like baseball, those are going to be a lot different.